all your men false. So boss, overtaking our enemies. Moves calculated and orchestrated like symphonies. Smooth operated when bringing haters to misery. Top 5 list ain't shit unless you mention me. Yeah, that's why we don't associate. Fuck niggas make them more fuck niggas. Why they procreate? Why they overhate? Cause they time is short and a moment late. Let it culminate to they heart erase and it palpitate. Cowards perpetrate like they little group is respectable. Talking intellectual, all of you homosexuals, faggots.
There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. I don't want to congregate. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want the fellowship. I ain't trying to build with you. Ain't the UPK? Ain't the truth. Keep it real with you. Defenders of the faith. I got no problem bumping heads with you. All that bullshit, you can take it over there with you. Rather be a houseboy. Rather run with them field niggas. Show them to put in work. Move mountain, crush hills, nigga. Take a dead soul. Breathe life and make it live, nigga. No affiliation, so it's no one to compare with us. Took the Lord's laws and just added it with fear, nigga. Aim for the body, cause you know that killer hit quicker. With these bars, I'm on my grizzly, so bear witness. You spit cold, I spit flu. Don't compare sickness. You floss diamond, I floss fringes. Don't compare dentists. UPK, we men the wall shit. We ain't Christian. Harm one of us, get pistol whipped like the gun got a belt with it. I'm bred different. The competition just a mill. I'm fed different. I stood front line on them fields. I bled different. I'd rather be a corpse than a cow when I'm led different. Shit, I'm led different. Come through like a juggernaut, so don't get in the way. And we take everything serious. We don't play. I wonder now what they gon' say. Shit, we make profits out of shooters like the NBA. You get slayed for switching sides, nigga. We ain't on the same page. Immaculate conception. Wow. These niggas bitch made. I'm sticking with the foundation where my bricks laid. You switch sides, I'd rather switch K's. You was never with us, nigga. Just know we won't miss you, nigga. Right hand hold the scriptures, nigga. Left hand hold the pistol, nigga. How you want it? You can get it spiritual or physics, nigga. Wrong ones to come against, so bring an army with you. No affiliation. When you see us, make the difference with us. No affiliation. When you see us, know we different, nigga. No affiliation. So no, you can't kick it with us. The wrong ones to come against, bring an army with you.
Misunderstood for having some morality, but my people dance spirituality. Lord knows, just a young Hebrew from Killer, California. Used to thug in the streets with no sense of order. Used to love to press the line, even test the water, and almost lost my life from slanging and hanging on that corner. I learned to cut the grass so I could see the snakes. I had to decipher between the real and fake. And nowadays all these niggas do is hate. Treat you like a bitch, sit back and try to manipulate. Yeah, that's why I got it on my own too. You see me rockin' with the Hebrews. UPK is how we do. Stand for the Lord, the mother niggas is see-through.
Where the soldiers at? Where the soldiers at?
Wake your game up, my nigga. Ain't no time for this shit. I know you sitting back thinking that life is a bitch. Yes, my nigga, I understand. My nigga, I feel your pain. Yeah. My nigga, we gotta change. This for the king, this for the king.
It's safe to say we curse today, trying to find another way, but all they do is take away. Trying to pray the fake away while trying to find a safer way. Eat so we can face to face. Please, Lord, save the day, cause everybody at my job always got some shit to say. You might think this shit is crazy, but I deal with this every day. Knowing that we paved the way, I had it up to here today. Listen to the shit to say, make me wanna catch this case, or even if they face away. But I know what them scriptures say. We gon' wait on judgment day, thinking it ain't coming, thinking the Lord bluffing. Waiting on the day it's gonna be harder than the other, though they treat me like a slave. Wanna see me in the grave, hate to see a nigga brave, hate to see a nigga brave. It's hard at my job, but I'll be too wide, knowing that this cracker's gon' get it
It's hard in my job, but I'll be too wild, knowing that this sucker's gon' get it no problem.
Wake your game up, my nigga. Ain't no time for this shit. I know you sitting back thinking that life is a bitch. Yes, my nigga, I understand. My nigga, I feel your pain. My nigga, we gotta change. This for the king, this for the king.
Yo, man, check this shit out, man. Check this out. Out there, just like you out there in the street, man. The street. You know what I'm saying? It's for our people out here, man. Yeah. Waking you up from the grave, man. It's 1969. Blacks, Hispanics, Native American, Indian. Check me out, though. Dead man walking. Bullet shots unguided. Same poverty, different hood, yet we divided. Bang coats like pirates. Inside I'm a riot. Mind frame library, so I'ma keep quiet. I'm about to explode from the impact of this pressure. Slay fire breathing dragons as I march the desert. Walk with no sight, your faith will measure. Diamonds made from rock, now that's our body treasure. Born in oppression, forced to maintain. Yoked the iron, to wrapped in them prison chains. Animal instincts when niggas is caged. Resorting to violence, here's a plate of my rage. Action without a cause, you living with no life. Killing demons while it's grace so you can get right. You say you want the kingdom, you gon' have to fight. Tunnel vision, one west, Lord, I see the light. Truth in my veins, as I slide on my
basically, I'm going to say most of us, if you black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you have been, let's say, pulled over, stopped, arrested, detained by so-called oppressor and his demonic enforcers. You understand what I'm saying? And we've all, most of us have experienced some kind of brush up against, you know, our oppressor when it comes down to law. You understand? And being incarcerated. A lot of us have. You understand? And we're going to just delve into it, and we're going to look and see what is mass incarceration. You understand? And I'm going to read this article. It's an overview of how the U.S. government locked up millions of people in cages and just forgotten about them, just to be forgotten about. You understand what I'm saying? So let's read this article. Over the past 30 years, the U.S. has placed radical, unprecedented policies and practices that attempted to address their whole purpose is not for prevention or rehabilitation, but their whole premise is to basically destroy a particular people, you understand, and benefit off the destruction of a particular people. All right? By 2010, 7.25 million Americans were under some form of correctional control, either in prison or jail or probation or parole. We all know that what people are under this duress by our oppressor, up from 1.84 million in 1980. It says the term mass incarceration refers to the unique way the United States has locked up a vast population in federal and state prisons, as well as local jails. It says, but this academic sounding term doesn't capture the insanity of the situation, right? These prisoners are disproportionately Black and Latino, and this is an article written by our oppressor. You understand what I'm saying? And it clearly says that these prisoners are disproportionately Black and Latino, against whom the system is biased at every level. You understand? So the system is set up against us from the beginning. It's not like we fall into, it's not like we do things to get locked up on purpose, but the system is set up from the time we are born, the time we go from school all the way through to getting into the work world. This whole system is set up and it's basically made to bring us right into the prison system, from school into the prison system. You understand what I'm saying? It says, despite similar rates of drug use, Black people are nearly 4 times as likely to be arrested for marijuana use, and Black males are often given longer sentences for crimes than their white counterparts. And why is that? Why are we given longer sentences? Why are we given longer terms? The point is to keep us incarcerated so that they can use us to their benefit. You understand what I'm saying? It's a system, just like we said in the beginning, a system that's disproportionately set up against Black and Latino. You understand? Let me read this. It says, many of the people locked up should be receiving treatment in the community. A 2006 Bureau of Justice Statistics study found that more than half of all inmates have mental health problems. More than half. You understand? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that probably 87% of the inmates, 87 to 90% of the inmates that are in these prison correction facilities and jails are Black and Latino. You understand what I'm saying? So they basically know a lot of us have mental health issues. I mean, look at what we've been through. You understand? We've been in slavery for over 400 years. Of course, we're going to have some kind of mental health problem. You understand what I'm saying? That's the way it is. But because our oppressor has no love and no sympathy and no empathy for our people, this is a vice that he used to destroy us. And we have to understand this is what our oppressor does. This is a part of his DNA. Let's go to I want to go to the scripture. I want to go to Lamentations chapter 4. Chapter 4, verse 18. Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 18. You ready?
Book of Lamentations, chapter 4 and verse 18. They hunt our steps.
It says they hunt our steps. You understand what I'm saying? They hunt our steps. Just like we were talking about in the beginning. Every vice and every law and everything that they create are set up for us to fail. You understand? It's like a trap and a snare. caught up in a way that they can benefit from our destruction. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead.
That we cannot go in our streets.
That we cannot go in our streets. I mean, as soon as listen, you can walk outside your door, go to a corner store, and be harassed by a police officer. You understand what I'm saying? This is just the way it is. And the thing is a lot of times you can be innocently walking down the street, but a lot of times they'll try to provoke you. They'll try to provoke us to have us fall into their system. You understand? Like I said before, a trap and a snare. You understand? And these are the things that they do to us. You understand? These are the things. These are the tricks of the trade that they use to get us caught up in the system. I heard, brother. I mean, let me say it like this. It seems like for the past 4 or 5 years, every year we hearing about 2 or 3 brothers that's being released from prison, that's been in prison for 15, 20, 30 years, and they finding them innocent. You understand what I'm saying? After they destroyed a brother's life and then they want to release them. But these are the vices that they use, you understand? And they use these traps and snares to have us fall into basically a bit of hell. You understand? Go ahead.
Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled. For our end is come.
It says our end is near. Listen, this is what our oppressor is looking forward to. Our days are near. You understand? Our end is near. You understand? We being just ground and crushed into powder. You understand? Our oppressor is here to destroy us. We fall into these snares. We fall into these traps because we don't listen to what the Most High tells us to do. You understand what I'm saying? This is a lot of the things that happen to us happen because we don't listen to the Father. You understand? We don't listen to His instructions. It says our end is near, our days are fulfilled. I mean, listen, you know, we at the end of our wits' end. We at our wits' end. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? And our oppressor continually keeps his foot on our neck. You understand? We have to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. You understand? Because our oppressor is just set out for our destruction. I want to get back into this article right here. And it says, how did this happen? The tough on crime punishment philosophy of the 1980s, and we know in the 1980s, who started that tough on crime thing in the 1980s? He didn't actually start it, he just picked it up from another one of our oppressors. But who was the one that started that being tough on crime in the 1980s? You know who that is? I don't know if you're old enough to know. You should. If you're old enough to know, Ronald Reagan, you understand, had that tough on crime punishment philosophy in the 1980s. You understand? And what was the slogan that they used to use? Say no to drugs. That was the Nancy Reagan thing. You understand? Say no to drugs. You understand? But she's telling us say no to drugs, and then her husband is throwing the drugs into our community, destroying our brothers and sisters. And if I'm not mistaken, in those early 80s, that's when that crack epidemic hit. You understand what I'm saying? And our people were totally destroyed from that crack epidemic. And the decade before that, if I'm not mistaken, it was heroin. And the decade before that, wasn't that coming from that Vietnam War? Salapia, sir? Coming from that Vietnam War, the heroin. You understand? So and that started with Nixon. You understand what I'm saying? That 1970s, in the 1970s, the early 70s, that started with Nixon, the war on drugs. The war on drugs, what was it? The war on crime and the war on drugs. And the war on drugs was a war on our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. You understand what I'm saying? So, let's read this. It says, the tough on crime punishment philosophy of the 1980s and 90s combined with the heinous war on drugs led to legislation under Republican and Democratic administrations that used the jail cell as a first rather than a last resort for people who broke the law. And they speaking of our people. You understand what I'm saying? They definitely speaking of our people.
Here are some results from a search.
All right. It says this uncompromising posture, which often exploited racial fear, became an essential part of running political campaigns. See, and from our destruction, this is how every politician uses this political agenda to win an office. You understand? Talking about they gonna help black people. We gonna rehabilitate. You understand? None of them believe in rehabilitating black people because all of them are basically a left and a right wing is the wing from the same bird. You understand what I'm saying? These people are together at the end of the day. You understand? Democrats and Republicans both are against so-called black, Hispanics, and natives at the end of the day. So nothing, they can promise us nothing that's going to eventually or help us in the long run. You understand? But we keep falling into those traps. We keep falling into the trap where we think we gotta vote or we gotta be a Democrat or Republican, and it destroys us time after time after time. All right, it's become an essential part of running a political campaign. For years, elected officials competed with one another on how brutally they would be willing to punish people who broke the law. And that's exactly what Biden and Kamala Harris ran on this year. They're going to be brutal. I mean, Kamala Harris was already brutal to the brothers down in San Francisco whose lives she destroyed. The innocent brothers whose lives she destroyed. You understand what I'm saying? And Biden was no different. Biden has hated black people since the 70s. You understand? He out said he didn't want his children in the jungle. You understand? Being what's that? Shipped off or bused to the jungle. You understand? Because he didn't want his children being schooled with black people. You understand? So this is something that they run on. Period. You understand? Competed with one another on how brutally they would be willing to punish people who broke the law, especially regarding drug code violations. Legislators enacted policies that led to more people being locked away from increasingly smaller offenses and combined them with further policies that kept people locked up longer. You understand? So did you hear about the lady who was in school? She had already been locked up for 15
shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
It says, for thou shalt begot sons and daughters. We're going to have sons and daughters. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to have the sons and daughters that we're supposed to have. But we're not going to enjoy our sons and daughters. Why are we not going to enjoy our sons and daughters? Because our sons and daughters are going to go into captivity. And when we speak of captivity, we're not just speaking about the captivity in the prison system only. You understand? Look at the captivity that our sons and daughters are in today. You understand? In the being our sons and daughters being on drugs. You understand? Our daughters being prostitutes on the street. You understand? That's prison in itself. You understand? That's the way. That's it. Our sons and daughters killing themselves on the street. You understand? We don't enjoy it. We can't enjoy our sons and daughters because of the things that they fall in, the traps and the snares that they fall into of the oppressor. You understand that the oppressor has set, and that is destroying our people. We can't enjoy our sons and our daughters. You know, for they shall go into captivity. You understand? When our sons and daughters are on these streets and they on these drugs, or they out here murdering and robbing, we out here murdering and robbing each other, we can't enjoy ourselves. We can't, our sons and daughters' minds are captured. You understand? From the propaganda that's being placed in their heads by our oppressor, from these traps and these snares that's being thrown in front of our sons and daughters. You understand? We think you got to be a prostitute or sell. Our daughters think they got to be prostitutes and sell their bodies to be something. You understand what I'm saying? Our brothers think we got to go out here, we got to rob and do different crimes and it's because of what our oppressor has put before us. It's the traps and the snares. You understand what I'm saying? We can't enjoy our sons and our daughters because of the ways and the customs and the cultures that our oppressor, that our children fall into. You understand? And a lot of us have fallen into those same, customs and cultures. You understand? We think we gotta be this, we think we gotta be like our oppressor to get ahead. When we don't. You understand? All we have to do is come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. We don't have to fall into the same, customs and cultures as our oppressor. You understand? They living off of us as it is. You understand? Everything that our oppressor has is because of us. You understand? This United States was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the 12 tribes of Israel, of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. You understand? And we live in this society as though we have done nothing. You understand? We live in this society like our oppressor did it all themselves when they had it. It was all done by us. You understand? But we can't enjoy it. We can't enjoy it because we are in basically in captivity. You understand? This is a captivity that we in. This is spiritually Egypt that we're in today. You understand? Just like the children of Israel were in biblical times were basically slaves in Egypt, we slaves in America now. It's biblical. This is spiritually Egypt that we are in right now. You understand? We're going to go to now, I'm going to go to a different article. Matter of fact. Mass incarceration. The history of mass incarceration. Should be the Brennan Center for Justice. The Brennan Center for Justice. incarceration. You've heard the phrase mass incarceration, but what does it really mean? Simply put, it is shorthand for the fact that the United States incarcerates more people than any nation in the world, including China. And the United States is also the leader in the prison population rate. America approaches to punishment often lacks a public safety rationale. Disproportionately affects minorities and inflicts overly harsh sentences. We can build a better, fairer system, but before exploring how to fix the problem, it's worthwhile to conduct a brief review of the history of incarceration. The founders rebelling against the British legal system that vested all powers in the crown wanted a justice system that guarded against government abuse. 4 of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution protect the rights of the accused or convicted. This was a statement of priorities, and the world noticed. Alexis de Tocqueville, the renowned 19th century French sociologist, came to the U.S. in 1831 and studied the young nation's prison and penitentiary. He found that certain states were attempting to administer humane and proportional punishment in a way France and the rest of Europe were not. His observations appeared in classic works, Democracy in America. But, of course, he also saw much to criticize in the young United States, including its commitment to slavery. You understand what I'm saying? And he noticed that they had a commitment to slavery as much as they wanted laws that were, that were equal and fair to the convicted. They were committed to slavery. The legacy continues to haunt the country today. Why does it continue to haunt the country today? It continues to haunt the country today because we are still treated as slaves. You understand? We are still in slavery. Even as most of the world has adopted punishment systems more in line with what he hoped to find, today the United States incarceration rate is 9 times higher than Germany, 8 times higher than Italy, 5 times higher than the UK, and 15 times higher than Japan. Why? Simply put, other countries do not use prison as a one-size-fits-all solution to crime. In 2016, Brennan Center examined convictions and sentences for 1.46 million people behind bars nationally and found that fully 39% or 576,000 were in prison without any public safety reason and could have been punished in a less costly and damaging way, such as community service, which we know that they don't use that for us anymore. We don't get community service. We get time in prison for the least offense. You understand what I'm saying? But even if they were all released, the United States would still incarcerate at a far higher rate than comparable countries. Listen, mass incarceration takes hold. It wasn't always this way. The prison population began to grow in the 1970s. Then politicians from both parties used fear and thinly veiled racial rhetoric to push increasingly punitive policies. Nixon started this trend, declaring a war on drugs and justifying it with speeches about being tough on crime. But the prison population truly exploded during President Ronald Reagan's administration. When Reagan took office in 1980, the total prison population was 329,000. And when he left office 8 years later, the prison population had essentially doubled to 627,000. This staggering rise in incarceration hit communities of color hardest. They were disproportionately incarcerated then and remain so today. This is what we go through. You understand? This is the reason why the scriptures tell us, trust not thine enemy. And we are a trusting give us justice. They will never do anything to take that foot off of our neck. You understand? The place we were put in as a second-class citizen was purposefully done. You understand? They purposefully did that because they can profit, they can benefit off of us. You understand what I'm saying? That was the purpose of them doing that. Let's get back to this article. Incarceration grew both at the federal and state level, but most of the growth was in the states, which housed the vast majority of the nation's prisoners. The number of prisoners grew in every state, blue, red, urban, and rural. In Texas, for example, the state incarceration rate quadrupled. In 1978, the state incarcerated 182 people for every 100,000 residents. By 2003, that figure grew. That figure was 710. For every 100,000 people, they incarcerated 710. And they incarcerate, this thing with mass incarceration has been done because these people make money off of us. Okay? Now I'm gonna read some statistics that I found out. But first, before I read these statistics, let me make sure. Hold on, give me a little bit of time. I got it. Let me see. Mass incarceration. Hold on, wait a minute. It says, these changes were spurred in part by laws like the 1994 crime bill. Listen, each one of these crime bills that they created, each one of these crime bills, each one of these crime bills that they were created to continually destroy us. You understand what I'm saying? Crime bills are always made for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. You understand what I'm saying? These crime bills are created to keep us incarcerated, to give us longer prison terms. You understand? To keep us continually being funneled through the incarceration system. You understand? Which gave states money to perpetuate policies that bred bloated prisons. In fact, while it received little attention, the rise of mass incarceration was a phenomenon that has affected the entire country for 4 decades. Now listen, mass incarceration has infected, the country for 4 decades, positively for our oppressor, negatively for us. Why is it positive for our oppressor? Because our oppressor gets paid when we get incarcerated. We lose when we get incarcerated. You understand what I'm saying? And I want to go to Ezekiel 35 and 5. Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5. You understand? And then I'm going to read some statistics after we go through this scripture right here. You understand?
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred.
It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Each one of these crime bills is because of the perpetual hatred that they have for us. The war on drugs, the war on poverty, the war, all of these crime bills that they create is created because they have a perpetual hatred for us. What does perpetual mean? Perpetual means an ongoing, unquenchable thirst, an unquenchable hate for our people. You understand?
This is why when they create all of these crime bills, they're creating these bills geared towards us, not their own. You understand what I'm saying? Look at all of these oppressors that swarmed down on the Capitol back at January the 6th. You understand what I'm saying? And if I'm not mistaken, they said they arrested over 525 people, which we know was way more than that. But not only that, how many did they release under their own recognizance? You understand what I'm saying? They released most of them. One of the white oppressor females had took a laptop and tried to sell information to the Russians, right? That's espionage. She should have been down for 30 years off the back for that. But they released her, a 22-year-old woman, they released to the custody of her mother, like she was a child. You understand what I'm saying? Those laws that they create are not created to incarcerate their own, but they are created to incarcerate us. You understand what I'm saying? None of those laws that they create are to destroy their own, but to destroy us. You understand? Go ahead.
And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
It says, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. And we know our brothers and sisters die by the force of the sword every day in these streets, whether it be by the gun of a police officer or by the drugs that they put on the street for us to die behind, whether we're killing ourselves or by the drugs or killing each other. By the poverty, the sword, the force of the sword is also the poverty that they put us in, the position that they place us in, you know, forcing us to have to go out and do menial crimes. And doing the menial crimes, they lock us up for half of our lives. You understand? Going into a store, stealing a loaf of bread and getting 20 years. They said a brother stole a pair of $16 hedge clippers, and they gave him 40 years in prison for a pair of $16 hedge clippers that the oppressor got back. You understand? It wasn't like he stole them and sold them to somebody, but they got him back. But they gave the brother 40 years in prison. You understand? That's the force of the sword. You understand? It's not only by their guns or what they're murdering us with, but it's also by the vices that they place in our path to have us tripped up and fall into their incarceration or the mass incarceration that they put us under. You understand? They do any and everything to have us fall into these holes, these trenches, these traps, and these snares. You understand? But we gotta follow. We have to get this knowledge and this wisdom out of this Bible and follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, because this is the thing that keeps us from falling for the devil's tricks, for our oppressors' tricks. When we say devil, what do we mean by devil? We mean deceiver. You understand? Devil just means deceiver. And who deceives everybody across the face of this earth? Our oppressor. This is the reason why we always say the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand? He is the deceiver of the whole world. I mean, listen, we don't support the Afghans, right? But look at what the oppressors is doing to the Afghans. After making all of those promises for the last 20 years, now they leaving them on airport runways, clearing out of Afghanistan, leaving them to be destroyed by the Taliban. You understand what I'm saying? Because our oppressor breaks his commitments. He breaks his word. He breaks his promises. Look what he did to the native Indian. You understand? And right now, he stole all the native Indian land, and he has the native Indian incarcerated. If you don't believe me, what do you think those reservations are? What do you think a reservation? If this is supposed to be a land that you own, why can't you build on it? Why can't you do what you want to do on it unless you gotta get permission from the oppressor? You have to get written permission to build on your own land. You understand what I'm saying? That's a hell in itself. You understand? You stole the land from me, and then you give me some back, and I gotta get permission to build on it. You understand? That's the devil that the Bible speaks of. Let's get back into this article. It says, these changes were spurred in part by laws like the 1994 crime bill, which gave states money to perpetuate policies bred bloated prisons, overpopulated prisons. In fact, while it received little attention, the rise of mass incarceration was a phenomenon that has affected the entire country for 4 decades. It has affected the entire country for longer than that. Recently, however, there has been some incremental progress in reducing mass incarceration. That's a lie. In the last decade, prison populations have declined by about 10%. Racial disparities in the prison population has also fallen, which we know that's not true. In this is the product of a bipartisan census that mass incarceration is a mistake. Mass incarceration was not a mistake, it was purposefully done. You understand? And I want to read some of these numbers right here to show you something about mass incarcerations. Check this out. Now, with mass incarceration, think about this. We have in the United States, there are 50 states. Within the United States, we have 1,833 state prisons. That's about 66 on average. If you average it out, that's about 66 state prisons per state. You understand? And I'm talking about the states within the United States country itself. I'm not talking about Puerto Rico and Hawaii and all those other little places that they take over that they call a state. You understand? They have 110 federal prisons. That's like 2.2 per state. And then local jails, think about it, the local jail is 3,134. That's a lot. You understand? That's damn near 84 local prisons per state. You understand? And now listen, think about this, right? You got juvenile corrections, over 1,700 juvenile facilities, 218 immigration detention centers. You understand? And listen to this. Indian country jails. They have 80 of them. You understand? Indian country jails have 80 of them. Not to mention the military prisons, the civil commitment centers, and the state psychiatric prisons and all of that type of stuff. You understand? But they get paid on average $150 a day per prisoner. Think about it. If you get $150 a day, on average, that's about what per year? $54,000. That's over $54,000 a year, almost $55,000 a year per prison, right? Now I worked down the city jail. I worked on Steel Side, right? And in Steel Side, we had 9 sections. We had 18 sections total. No, it was 21 sections. But they had 18 sections, 2 tiers. One side had 96 and the other side had 120, right? So at 96, think about this, 96 and 120, that's about $1,800 264 prisoners total. And that's not including segregation and the psych ward and all of that. So think about this. You had that many prisoners, how many is that? How many is that? How much are they getting per year? Think about it. How much are they getting per year? That's over $93 million coming out of one prison. That's a city jail. And if they got, how many city jails? If they got 3,100, can you imagine the money that's coming into the United States just by the local jails alone? You understand? They making a killing. Why would they want to stop that? Why would they want to lower that rate? You understand what I'm saying? They making all of this money off of our brothers and sisters. That's a total, just at the city jail, that's 1,944 prisoners. And I remember when we had an overload where we had to send brothers, and I forgot all about the JI building, but they tore that down. You understand? They sent brothers over the JI building because Steel Side was filled. Mm-hmm. That's when I was working down there in 2003 to 2005. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how much money they making off the brothers and sisters? Now, listen, I work K section and I work J section. Used to call K section Killer K, because that's where all the young crazy dudes used to be at. And the J section was where all the older dudes, the seasoned dudes, the relaxed, laid back dudes. Well, out of working both of those sections, I had three oppressors on those sections. 2 was on K, 1 was on J. So just imagine, both of these sections are 120 inmates, right? So out of 240 inmates, 3 were the oppressor. So how proportionate, and it's basically no different today. We see that by, you can really see that by how sentencing goes when you're in court and a white oppressor gets probation and a brother gets 15 years for the same offense. You understand what I'm saying? It's no different when you see that same brother, that white oppressor, they let him go on his own recognizance, and they keep the brother down at the jail. You understand? It's no different. They making a lot of money. They making a killing off of our people. This mass incarceration thing isn't a thing that has happened to our people by happenstance. It has happened purposefully. You understand? And we have to understand that our oppressor hunts our steps. We read that in the scripture earlier. He hunts our steps. And when in hunting our steps, we have to be clear, and we have to be cognizant of the traps and the snares. You understand? We can't go out into our streets and fear going out into our streets. And the only way we're not gonna fear going out into our streets is getting up into this Isupk and learning these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because only if you living by these laws, statutes, and commandments, these laws, statutes, and commandments will keep you off of the oppressor's radar. You understand? Not that they won't see us, but if you're following these laws, you won't break those laws. You understand? The laws, statutes, and commandments tell us that we are not to sell drugs, that we are not to get high, that we are not to kill our brothers and sisters. You understand? That we are not to eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. All of these things that continually destroy us, whether it be on the inside or the outside. You understand? We got to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. Now let's get back to this. Where was I at? Did we finish that scripture? Oh yeah. Let me get back to that. It says, by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Listen. Our oppressor is going to destroy us even when we are in our lowest state. You understand? Even when we are in the ghettos living our lowest state, he is going to continually grind us into powder. You understand? We cannot survive by falling into the traps of our oppressor. You understand? In the time that our iniquity had an end. Listen, even in the times when we are not even, when we are finished doing the dirt that we were doing, our oppressor still comes out and finds a means to destroying us. We see that every day when we listen to the news. When you hear about a brother who's been incarcerated or who's been murdered on the streets. You understand? And let's just say he hasn't done anything negative in his life for 20 years, but they want to go back that 20 years and bring up the negativity that he did when he was a kid. You understand what I'm saying? Even when we finish doing all of the dirt and we cleaned up our lives and we trying to do the right thing, our oppressor finds it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Go ahead.
You gotta understand this white man wants our very soul.
Right.
It's not enough for him that we go to prison.
Right.
And that we suffer and die a very short life. It's not enough for him that our families are broken and destroyed. It's not enough that we don't have enough social cohesiveness to come together and build any goddamn thing, any businesses, anything for ourselves. It's not enough that we can't see the lies that's coming forth towards us, man.
Right.
This white man wants our very souls. In fact, I remember through my readings and my research in history,
right,
especially through the Second Amendment and John Adams, who talked about taking the very light from our minds. This white man wants our souls. And we think that this white man has changed in recent history, but he has not changed.
Right, exactly.
We think because he haven't murdered us and walked through the streets and shot us down, that he's somehow different. No, we're different because we conform to everything that he wanted. We started acting like white people, murdering each other. He created business models. We went right into it, going to prison, killing each other, doing all types of vicious things to each other, not building with each other, splitting up from our families. Our kids are destroyed, generation after generation. Fathers going to prison. We became Americans.
Right.
We became multicultural. We allowed every race of people to come take over our businesses and our communities. We give them our whole goddamn paycheck every day.
Right.
And you know what happened? White people became complacent with that.
Right.
But now the truth is starting to surface. Demographics are starting to change. So white people are like, well, hold up. We gotta build a wall. Because all of these South American Hispanic people are coming over, these West Indies are coming over. It's almost 50-50 now. We almost the minority in our own country.
Right.
It's inevitable. The fear. That's why they attacked the goddamn Capitol. Racism. Fear of these people taking over and treating white people the same way we've been treated. The hell that they created for us coming for them.
Right.
That's why you got white zombified addicts on every corner in Baltimore. You would have never seen that 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Ever. But you see white zombified, cracked out, doped out people in Baltimore because hell is coming for them. What's that scripture? That hell will meet you on its way. Let me try to find, let me get that one scripture.
Oh, let me see.
I'm gonna leave you alone. Let me get that one scripture. See if I can find it. If I can't, we do it later. Isaiah 14:9.
Let me read that for you. Isaiah 14:9.
Isaiah 14.
Got it. I got it. Let me know if you want it.
Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming.
God damn! You coming to hell. Your behind is coming to the same hell that you devised for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You devised a drug-infested, disgusting, rat and mice-infested hell
Right.
for God's people. And guess what? It's moving towards you and it's coming. You know what that means? Disease, famine, slavery, hardship, oppression. That's what that means. The same hell that you designed for God's people is now coming full circle. That's why the Lord ain't letting up on this pandemic, man.
Right.
That's why. Hell is coming for you, to meet you. You're coming, our oppressors is coming down, and hell is coming to meet them. Read on.
It stirreth up the dead for thee.
Good night. It stirs up the dead. Who are the dead? All of these Negroes. All of these Negroes that never understood the Bible.
Right.
All of these Negroes that are Americans, Haitians, Jamaicans,
Right.
you understand, Democrats, Republicans, fed into the philosophies of white supremacy.
Right.
Well, guess what? The dead are waking up now, coming together, numerous, strong, unbending, unwilling to bend. We know what was done to us in the past. We know that the people that are living today are living off the bones of our ancestors.
Right.
And we're not willing to give that up because we deserve justice. We deserve justice. Read on.
Even all the chief ones of the earth.
Even all the chief ones of the earth, man. Look, every single solitary person that the DuPonts, the
Morgan Stanleys.
Morgan Stanleys, the
Pierpont.
What's the richest? The
Legg Mason.
The Facebook creator.
Jeff Bezos.
The Bezos.
The,
all of these rich old money, rich new money.
right.
They gonna meet hell. They gonna meet hell. Because our oppressors are so proud that they could not ever understand how these low people could ever take them over and take a kingdom from them when they are so mighty and so powerful and has devised such an evil and devious business model in country, man. Read on.
It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations.
Every nation on this earth, man. Every nation is going to start turning against this nation. Because this is Babylon, spiritually Egypt, just like the brother was saying. They did the same thing to us in Egypt. They enslaved us, murdered us, committed barbarism, every type of larceny against us, man. Put us in every kind of jail there is to be put into.
Right.
It's the same thing that they did in Egypt that they're doing today. We don't
don't recognize it, we don't understand it. It's spiritual. It can't stop because we conform to everything our oppressors needed us to conform to. They stopped murdering us in mass, but now they feel the squeeze. Be careful. Be careful of a mass murder from these people, man.
Right.
Be prepared. We've been saying that since 1969. It's a lot. Good.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that was strong right there. That was definitely strong, man. Listen, our oppressor is on his way to getting everything that he deserves. You understand? By the way he destroyed our people. Listen, just like you said, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet. You understand? He is about to fall into his own hell. You understand? Just like we in the hell that we in. I want to get back to this article right here on this one right here. Right? It says, although the war on drugs had sparked the significant incline of mass incarceration, there are three factors that sustain its impact. Over-policing in redline and marginalized communities. You understand? And this is what they do to us. Over-policing. You understand? This is the reason why you got police cars racing up and down your neighborhood every day. This is why you got police following you around your neighborhood. You can walk out your front door and the police will walk behind you like he waiting for you to do something. You understand? Over-policing in redline and marginalized communities. They redlined us, they forced us into certain communities, telling us that we can't afford to live in these communities, so they cake us up into these redline marginalized communities so they can over-police our people all at one time. You understand what I'm saying? This is what they do to us. It says, over-policing in redline and marginalized communities, longer sentencing of minor crimes. You understand? And this is another vice that they use. You understand? Think about all the brothers, and I'm not saying that we don't advocate drug use in the Isupk, but the brothers that are locked up for marijuana usage, you understand? And now that they've legalized it, they should allow those brothers and sisters out. You understand? But they gave them 20 and 30 years for marijuana, and now marijuana is legalized. And this is the reason why we can't fall victim to our oppressor schemes and scams. You understand? Like we said before, they set these traps and snares to get us caught up and get us caught up in this mass incarceration thing so that they can benefit off of our failures. You understand? And our failures is believing in our oppressor, falling into our oppressor's customs and culture. You understand? Falling into all of these things that they throw before us. Drugs were thrown before us. Homosexuality was thrown before us. These are not of our customs and culture. You understand? Let's read this. It says, endless restrictions after being released. You understand? After you're released from prison, you've done your prison term, but they put you on parole and probation and tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go here, you can't go there. They make all of these restrictions hoping that we fall right back and fall victim to their little schemes. You understand? These are the little traps and the things that they do. If you served your time, then there should be no parole or probation. You understand? But these are the things that they set before us to have us fall into their traps and their snares to drive us back into that mass incarceration. Once you are labeled as a felon, your right to employment, affordable housing, education opportunities and schooling, the right to vote, access to SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and other public benefits are forcefully ripped away. So if you don't have a means for employment, if you don't have a means for schooling, if you don't have, well, a right to vote or affordable housing, what do? You commit more crimes. They create these laws so that you fall back, so that we fall victim all over again. And we continue that cycle through that system until we are all used up, forced out, and we go off somewhere and die. You understand? But all of these things that our oppressor is doing to us is going to come back on our oppressor. Our oppressor has to pay for everything that he's doing to us. You understand? Actually, federal laws permanently bans people with felony drug convictions from receiving SNAP and temporary assistance for needy families, thus making mass incarceration a huge contributor to the hunger and poverty crisis in America. Not only do they make money at the incarceration expense, but think about it, right? You get even within that mass incarceration, even the thing where you get to purchase stuff every month, they make a mass killing off of that too. You understand? Selling the little soaps and the little deodorants and things like that. You understand? The little packs of cookies and all of these little care packages that they sell you every month, that they allow you to, when you get money on your books and then you get to buy stuff like that. The person who's doing all of that is our oppressor. And they get to make a killing after they make this money, this $55,000 a year, then they kick up that other money on top of that too. The judges get paid, the lawyers get paid, the district attorney, all of those people get paid off of us. We are the only people who don't benefit off of our own people's incarceration. Not to say that that's a good thing, but look at how it's set up. You understand? The system is run by the oppressor. You understand? Every once in a while, you'll see one of our people, sitting in the seat of the oppressor, but his strings are being tugged by the oppressor. You understand what I'm saying? Just like the priest officer just got finished saying. You understand? We got our own brothers and sisters sit up there and go up against us for the oppressor too. You understand? That reminds me of that. What was that movie? The Django. You understand? When the character that Samuel L. Jackson played. You understand?
Yeah.
Cry when his oppressor's dying. You understand? Yeah. Because inside he dying too. That was just like, what did Malcolm X say? He said, "Is we sick, boss? You understand? Boss, do you want this person destroyed right here? This is what our people do to us. You understand? For the oppressor. You understand? But at the end of the day, they all gonna have to pay. They all gotta answer for destroying the children of Israel. You understand? God's chosen people. You understand? It says, according to the National Institute of Health, 91% of people transitioning from incarceration report experiencing food insecurity. Additional studies have shown that when a family member was incarcerated, 70% of the households have difficulty meeting basic needs, such as food and housing. That means who's being incarcerated? Either the father's being incarcerated or the mother of a single parent household is being incarcerated. You understand what I'm saying? And either way, it's always the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives that's being incarcerated. You understand? They definitely are not talking about our oppressor. You understand? Our oppressor has every means and has every avenue to make sure that his family is taken care of if he just happens to get incarcerated. You understand? Let's see where we at. Here we go. It has been estimated that U.S. poverty would have dropped by 20% between 1980 and 2004 if not for mass incarceration. So basically what they're saying is that because of mass incarceration, our people are on the streets starving. We are the one in poverty. You understand? We are the ones that are suffering. As you can see, we always ask the question, you understand? Where are all the white ghettos at? There's no such thing as a white ghetto. You have some white people who fall into the ghetto, but there are no such things as white ghettos. Ghettos were not created for our oppressor. Ghettos were created for our people. It originally was created for the so-called Jewish man by the German. You understand? And this is what happened when the so-called Jewish man came to the Americas and did the same turn to our people. You understand? They said since we lived in ghettos, then they created that ghetto situation that was created in Germany for our people. You understand? Those so-called Jewish people lived up under the rats and the roaches and stuff, under the filth and the dirt. You understand? Think about this, right? I remember I was living off of Wilkins Avenue, and I remember trash day was on Wednesday, was on Tuesdays, and was on Fridays. You understand what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, they said it was a shortage of whatever, and they took one of those days away. So what happens? All of that trash begins to build up, and it starts to draw more rats, more roaches. You understand? Not to say that those things weren't there. It was already there, but it made the situation worse. You understand? It made the situation worse, should I say. You understand? And we have to understand that a lot of the situations that we are in are because these are the situations that our oppressor has created to make our situation dire. You understand? To make us, to turn us, to make us look like the animal that he wants us to be. You understand? We can't fall for our oppressor's tricks. You understand? If not for mass incarceration, generally compared to other industrialized countries like Russia, China, and Germany, the United States has one of the highest incarceration rates, of course. The fact of the matter is there is no quick solution to fixing a system designed to work against black, indigenous people and people of color. You hear that? There is no solution. There is no solution. You understand? There's no solution because this is how they made the machine to work. You understand? This discrimination is not new. It has been built on years and years of racism and prejudice. Mass incarceration has simply evolved into the #1 ways to oppress black communities. Though it will be an uphill battle, it can't be an uphill battle if our oppressor controls all the laws, the rules, and the regulations. It's not even a battle at all. You understand? And as long as we continue to follow the customs and the culture of our oppressor, we will continually be in the situation that we are in. You understand? A destroyed people. You understand? Because we continue to follow. You understand? Instead of coming out from among them, the scriptures tell us, come out from among them, my people, be ye separate. You understand? We have to separate ourselves from the oppressor. You understand? I want to, let me see. You was talking about cat, say cat. Sir, you, give me, I want to go to First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 10. You was talking about this earlier. You understand? And just like you said, even dealing with the mass incarceration, everybody in the United States feeds off of our people. You understand? Whether it be the stores that they own, we don't own any store. Listen, we can't come out of it. We can't, if you don't own anything or you can't take care of your own people, we are always at the beck and call of the other nations. You understand? When we have to go out and we have to work for our oppressor, we have to buy food from our oppressor, we have to get drink from our oppressor, we have to get clothing from our oppressor. We are dependent. You understand? And when you are dependent on the other nations, you become the second-class citizen. You become whatever these other nations want us to become. You understand what I'm saying? And the scripture says, what's Salaki? Go ahead, sir. You got that? I got it. It says, 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 10. What nation have had... Oh, you all right?
1 Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse 10. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoil?
It says, what nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoil? And I'm ready to say, I don't like you get ready to say cap. Officer Kawan was talking about it earlier. You understand what I'm saying? And we allow all these other nations to come into our neighborhoods and to sell to us and take all of our money out of our neighborhoods and go into their own neighborhoods. Every nation has gotten of our spoils, but we don't get of the other nation's spoils. We buy from all the other nations, but we don't sell to any of the other nations. You understand what I'm saying? All of these other nations benefit off of us, but we don't benefit off of any of these other nations. You understand? And when you are at the beck and call of all of the other nations, you tend to fall for everything that the other nations send out, including, just like we said, mass incarceration. You understand? Think about this, right? How many Arabs have you seen in prisons, in the United States prisons? How many East Indians have you seen? How many Chinese have you seen? How many Koreans have you seen? You haven't seen any of them because they take care of their own people. The Bible tells us to take care of our own. We should be buying and selling. You understand? But because we fall into our oppressor's customs and culture, because we fall up under our oppressor and believe our oppressor is going to take care of us, this is the reason why we fall for the traps and the snares. You understand? This is the reason why we are under mass incarceration. This is the reason why we fall into these things, because we don't want to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. You understand? Every nation comes in and benefits off of us, but we benefit off of no other nation. Basically, when you listening to the news and you listening to reports and things like that, and they talk about consumers, they're talking about us. You understand? A consumer takes in, a consumer buys. You understand? A consumer does not sell. And when we talk about buying and selling, we're talking about on a nationwide scale. We're not talking about the little moms and pop stores, the little few that we have. We're talking about on a scale that can take care of a nation of people. You understand? The East Indians, how did they fall into all of the Dunkin' Donuts? How did the Arabs come in and fall into all of the liquor stores? How did the Africans come in and fall into the gas stations? And the Africans and the Ethiopians, they both the same, but they fall into the gas stations. You understand? Every nation is built against us. You understand? And we have to understand that this is not a game that we in. This is a war. You understand? And we have to understand the rules of war. You understand? We have to read up on our rules of war, and all the rules of our war is right here in this Bible. You understand? These laws, statutes, and commandments tells us how to deal with our oppressor, how to deal with our enemies. You understand what I'm saying? How to take care of our own people. You understand? This is the reason why we fall into the destruction that we fall into. You understand? Give me let's go to, I think that's Jeremiah. Let me see, make sure it's the right one. Oh, no, that ain't it. Deuteronomy 28. $57. No, excuse me, 48.
Deuteronomy 28 and 48.
Come, sir. That's the one we were just talking about.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
It says, listen, this says, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Listen, the Most High sent our oppressor against us because we did not want to follow his laws, statutes, and commandments. We wanted to be a disobedient child. You understand? And the only way you can bring a disobedient child back into obedience is you have to discipline them. And in disciplining us, he sent our enemies. He sent our enemies upon us and had us to serve our enemy. You understand? So he sent the enemies against us for us to shall serve him. Salakia. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst. Listen, in hunger, in everything that we need for food and for drink, in hunger and in thirst, we have to go to our oppressor. What does that sound like? That's a slave. You understand? And in nakedness, you understand? Even in the clothing that we need, we have to serve our enemies. We have to go to our oppressor for every need in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon our necks. And he has put a yoke of iron upon our necks. He has us serving excruciatingly, I'm using the wrong word. Excruciatingly. Did I use that word right? You understand? Until we fall and die. You understand? We got to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. You understand? We have our children out there working jobs to help us make bills at the house. You understand? He put a yoke of iron upon our necks until he hath destroyed us. You understand? Our children, we are destroyed because we want to serve under our oppressor and not follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to Priest Officer Kawan Palak.
Straightened out here for a minute. Hold on 1 second. Black people. Black peoples. Wait a minute. Alright. Security announcements. We are the ISUPK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. That'll be saluted only. Salaki, they are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular partner, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry tithes, which is a commandment. Give your tithes to Commanding General Yohana, man. I don't give a damn how you interpret tithes. If you think it's veggies, if you think it's peas and corns and whatever you think it is, send the peas and corn to Commanding General Yohana so he can send it to Baltimore and we can feed some of these people out here, man.
Right.
There's women out here, man, that's starving out here in Baltimore, man. Send some goddamn veggies if that's what you believe it in. If that's you want to be simple, I don't give a damn. Just send in the damn tithes. All right? Which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8 and 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew and is pronounced Ma'asharah. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher, priest fund, free will offering for priests. If you like with priest and officer Matham Shakaria was kicking the day, then send in something and help black people in your neighborhood and in another neighborhood. It only helps you. Helping us helps you because we love black people and are about black people.
Right.
And that's what it is. All right? Free will offering for priests. Not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy congregation. Remind Akim and Akwafium to check on social media such as isupk.com, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, and or scarf. Men of Israel, Imajim Shabbats, Imajim Barak, Yahaba Shem Yahaba Shabarakata, Yazimata, class dismissed.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packed, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues. Boy, this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good record. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword. With a